And we back, and we back, and we back, and we back. What's good, everybody? Had to hit y'all with a little Chance the Rapper just to get this thing started, you know? Nah, but what's good, everybody? I hope you guys are all enjoying your week so far. I hope you guys all had a great weekend that just passed. You know, we got Labor Day weekend coming up next, so I know a lot of people got that 4-day weekend or 3-day weekend. But thank you guys for tuning in to a new episode of Tune Check Podcast. And like always, I'm your host. My name is Cris. And on this episode, we're gonna run through some news. And I got 3 album reviews at the end for y'all. I said this on my previous episode, and I've been saying this a lot to a lot of other people that this summer has been amazing for music. So shout out to all the artists that have dropped this summer. Shout out to all the artists that have honestly been carrying the year. Me personally, I feel like 2025 has been like superior in terms of artists dropping great music, you know, comparing it to last year, 2024. I think this year is definitely going to be a highlight. So when it comes towards the end of the year, it's going to be hard for me to make like my top 10 list for R&B and hip hop. But before I get into this episode any further, like always, like this video, you know, comment, subscribe to my channel, follow me on Instagram, follow me on TikTok, you know, show me some love. It don't hurt to just press like and subscribe. Like it takes like a second. You know, just let me know what you guys think on my shorts. Let me know what you guys think about my episodes. Comment on my posts on my social media channels. But let's get straight into it. So I'm gonna start off with my first piece of news. Let me just pull up my notes real fast. This kind of carries over into what I was speaking about last week about Drake. As you all know, they finally subpoenaed Kojo after like what months of trying to subpoena him. They finally found him, they got him. So Drake's pretty much saying that he's the person that they basically paid to like bot, you know, not like us and everything. That he was paying like third parties to do all of that stuff. And Drake also asked for Kendrick's contract, which I think is like crazy. I'm not understanding why he needs that. Like his contract has nothing to do with Drake, so I don't know why he's asking for that. I don't know why he wants to see that. I think that doesn't make sense at all. Like it's crazy to me that he's like asking for that. And he's also asking for records on abuse against Kendrick and like Dave Freeze ties to him and his children, you know, any domestic violence documentations. I feel like he's kind of like doing too much when it comes to like, you know, involving his children. That's kind of crazy to me. I'm like, all right, you're like reaching a little bit. But then again, like he's just trying to make sure he covers himself just in case like, you know, he looks like crazy or wrong at the end of this whole entire lawsuit. Like he wants to like, I guess maybe show some truth to what he was saying. But honestly, like everybody's clowning Drake because he's like suing UMG. People still think he's suing Kendrick Lamar, but he's not. He's suing UMG. You know, it's over like 500 M's, over money that they owe him. But people aren't really understanding that. And then they're just like going off and this and that. You know, I went on some comments defending like, oh, he's just suing because he wants his money. You know what I mean? Like anybody would sue for $500 million if you're able to get it. So you're telling me like if people played in your face, you're not gonna go get your money. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, but it is what it is though. Like, the court basically told Drake that he could see the contract. It can't be shown to the public eye because when UMG gave him the contract at first, it was like redacted heavily. So that's why they're asking for like more information. And I get it though. Like, you know, I wouldn't make his contract public to anybody either because it's nobody's business. I think the actual court date is for January. I'm not sure. I feel like I read something about it being in September, but I'm not too sure. I gotta double check that. But I'm gonna definitely double check that because I actually want to know. I want to keep up with this because, you know, like if Drake does win and they were botting not like us, like that would be amazing for the music industry, especially for the artists. I've been saying this so many times, and there's been a lot of other artists that have sued UMG for the same exact thing, and they've actually won their cases and won bread off of it. But they're not like big artists like Drake is, you know what I'm saying? So, but let's get into some better news. You know, next we got Kehlani. So she earned her first top 10 hit on the R&B and hip hop charts with Folded, went from number 14 to number 9. Shout out to Kehlani. Folded is like one of the best songs to come out this year. She sounds so good on that track. The production on that track is amazing. And I think she might have a remix coming out with Mario. I feel like I think it was yesterday night, I seen like a video of him singing over the track. He had like a verse to it where they were kind of doing like a duet. It sounded pretty good though, but I feel like she could have picked like somebody else to do a remix with. But I don't really think the song needs a remix, to be honest. I feel like the song is perfect as it is. Like it's already a great track. She really doesn't have to do nothing else to it. Like even the video is fire. Kalani always delivers, in my opinion. Like she's one of my favorite singers, to be honest. But shout out to Kalani. Like she's amazing, and I think she's gonna drop some more music soon as well. So I'm looking forward to that. Next, we got The Weeknd. So, you know, His After Hours tour became the biggest R&B tour in history, grossed over $500 million, and sold more than 5 million tickets since launching in 2022. I mean, granted, he's been touring for like the past, what, like 3 years? Hey, man, The Weeknd is just like a different breed, bro. Like, I'm telling you, he's gonna be the artist of the decade for, you know, the 2020s. I already know that. He's breaking so many records. Nobody's really doing it like him. I'm not sure if the tour ended or not, but like I said, I went. It's fire, bro. Y'all need to go if you haven't gone, or if he's gonna tour again, maybe in like a year or something. Definitely go. I think he said he's gonna make more music too, which is crazy because I thought this was like the last album with him as The Weeknd. So I'm hoping this is like an album that's like from Abel himself. But if you guys want to check out my recap, it's on my last episode. Go check that out if you haven't seen it. Next on the list, we got SZA. So SZA became the new artistic director for Vans. She signed a multi-year partnership with them. I think that's fire. Get your bread. SZA is one of the best artists out right now. Definitely one of the most popular artists out right now too. SZA definitely has like a very unique style in terms of her clothing, how she dresses and everything. I definitely think she's gonna bring something new to Vans. And I feel like this brand honestly suits her too. So I definitely see her like being part of this and actually doing a really good job with it. So I'm excited to see like what shoe she's gonna drop. But shout out to SZA and Vans. I think this is gonna be like a fire collab. And I'm excited to see like what she's gonna release first. Maybe it could be like a piece of clothing or like actual sneaker. After that, I got Lil Yachty. So he was getting some backlash for like a track he was recording on a stream with Black Max. I think it was crazy too. Like, I don't know what made Yachty do this, what made him like say this, what made him think it was fire. But like I said, he got backlash for referencing George Floyd in a song he was making. The exact line is put my knee on her neck. I went George Floyd. That's crazy to even think that that was a bar. Steven Jackson called out Lil Yachty for it. He was like, yo, that's not cool, calling him out online and stuff. Terrence Floyd, George's brother, released a statement saying that it's inconsiderate and that people should start thinking about what they say, that this younger generation doesn't really have any respect. And then later on, Steven also shared that Yachi and him, spoke about it and he apologized for the issue. I am not sure if Yachi actually released like a public statement apologizing, but I honestly don't understand what made him think that was okay to say on a song. He was in a group full of his people and nobody told him that that was a bad idea. Like nobody really just tapped on him like, yo, like don't say that, or yo, don't put that in there. You know what I'm saying? Like I want to know what came into his head when he thought about that. Like, oh yeah, this is fire to say. Like even if it was a few years ago, like that's still not cool to say, bro. Like it's all I can say is that Yachi needs to do better. That's really what it is. Then next on the list, I got Cardi B. So Cardi B, she's definitely been doing her thing. Her album's coming out, like I said earlier, in the next couple weeks, September. I'm ready for it. I'm excited for it. I think it's gonna be fire. So she dropped a single from the album called Imaginary Players. She rapped over Jay-Z's track Imaginary Players. She sampled it. Jay-Z's Imaginary Players is honest. Like we all know that's a classic track. It's one of my favorite tracks. That album, Volume 1, is one of my favorite albums, to be honest. I consistently go back to that album and listen to it because it's, like I said, it's one of my favorites. Also, that was the first Jay-Z album that I ever heard when I was younger too. But once she released the track, there was a lot of people that was like mixed about it. Some people think that Cardi didn't do a good job. Some people think that she should have never touched the track, that she didn't live up to, what the track was. And I just think they're being haters, to be honest. Like, I think the track is fire. She gave it like a woman's perspective. And she has some fire bars too, especially the one about, oh, I buy big boy watches and I take out the links. Like, what? That was fire, bro. Like, you can't tell me that wasn't fire. And she was just talking her shit, like she said she was. She said, oh, this is a track where I'm gonna talk about how I feel, like on a daily basis, things that I do. And that's exactly what she did. She did reuse some of the lines from Jay-Z's like original song. I didn't have no issues with that either. I thought it was fire. She was paying homage to it. And if Jay-Z approved the sample and said it was okay for her to use the song, like what's the real issue? You know what I'm saying? Like if you got the person who made the song that says, yeah, this is fire, you could do that. Because obviously they got to listen to the song first before like they put it out. And if he said, yo, this is cool, do that, I like it, then what's the issue? You know what I'm saying? Like, I really do believe that, like, people are just hating on Cardi B just to hate on her. Like, they don't want to give her cred, but think about it. Like, she hasn't dropped the album in 8 years. This is her second album after 8 years, and she's still relevant. She's still on songs, still bodying features, still doing her thing, still big as she is. Like, nah, bro, stop the hate. Like, I just don't understand it. And then some people even thought that she dissed Nicki Minaj with the 15 Up, I'm a Legend. They're gonna hang my heels from the power lines. I think that's a reach too. I don't understand. That's not a shot towards her at all. I didn't get that when I first heard it. But shout out to Cardi. I'm excited for her album. I think she did a great job on Imaginary Players. But that's it for the news. And now let's get to our album reviews. So, like I said, I got three. So, my first one is for Big X the Plug. The second one is for Mariah the Scientist. And then the third one is for Offset. So, let's start with the first one. Big X the Plug. He released his album, I Hope You're Happy. 11 songs, 26 minutes. Features are honestly just country artists. This is like a country rap album. So the features are Darius Rucker, Jelly Roll, Bailey Zimmerman, Ella Langley, Luke Combs, Shabuzi, Inc., Tucker Wetmore, and Thomas Rhett. So I'm gonna start off by saying that I'm not really a fan of country music. It's not that I hate it. It's not that I just don't really, it's not my thing. I can't gravitate towards it. Then again, like it's not really my thing. It's not a genre that I go and look into or a genre that I chase, a genre that I did like what Big X the Plug did with this. It did make me enjoy like the genre for like what the 26 minutes, the length of the album. I think he did a great job blending, his rap style with the country artist, considering that that's where he's from as well. But this album also became the number one rap album on Apple Music the other day. I think that's fire. But I feel like he did a good job on this album, regardless, like he showed a lot of vulnerability as compared to his previous albums, compared to his previous songs that he's been releasing. He's pretty much rapping about like a breakup that he had, like he lost somebody that he loved, like they broke up. And you really get that from the first track. The first track is called I Hope You're Happy, the title track featuring Darius Rucker. I like how it started, with just like a full-blown country thing. I was like, oh, okay, so like did he make like a full-blown country album? And then like after a few seconds he switched it to like a whole like trap beat and he started rapping over everything, started rapping about his breakup. So me, when I was listening to that, I was like, oh, wow, I like how he really blended everything. So that's really what hooked me. Then you got track two, which is the interlude. He's just, chatting about breakup. Track three, he reflects more about the breakup. And this is the song that features Jelly Roll. And Jelly Roll's hook on this track was fire. I think he really did a good job of helping, show the sadness that Big X is feeling and wants you guys to feel. Track four, All the Way with Bailey Zimmerman. Big X is still reflecting on his breakup, but it does sound kind of repetitive because it definitely sounds similar to the song previously. Track five is Hell at Night with Ella Langley. This song was like a little bit more energetic. Big X is basically saying, like F you to the person that hurt him, wishing bad on them, like anybody else would after a breakup. Everybody's gonna feel like mad about what's going on and like just hate on the other person and say, oh, I wish this, that, and that. Then track six is another interlude, just him chatting about, love again. Track seven is called Pray Hard with Luke Combs. This track was cool. It's one of my favorite tracks on the album, but I feel like he kind of just drifted away from the theme a little bit because he's just talking about his success and about his past, how he made it, how he helped his family and how his kids are good. I appreciate that. Everybody does, this is music, he could talk whatever he wants to talk about, but for the sake of the theme of the album, I feel like it kind of just like I said, drifted from the theme. Like I feel like this song shouldn't have been placed on this album, considering that majority of the tracks on the album were about, you being sad and upset, about a breakup and everything. But I feel like he also did it to kind of give the album, I guess you could say, some versatility or just make it a little different since he's been rapping about the same thing for the past, like what, like six tracks. Then you got track eight, which is called Homes featuring Shabuzi. Shabuzi did a great job. Shabuzi is on a fire feature run. He's also on like a good run with his music as well. Like a lot of the songs he's been releasing have been entering the top 10, even debuting in like the top five. So shout out to Shabuzi, definitely deserves it. And I feel like he really delivered on this hook as well. This song is pretty much about Big X just reflecting on decisions that he made, that are like bad in regards to his breakup. Like this was cool, but again, like it did sound very repetitive. He was basically saying the same things that he said on his previous tracks. Then you got track number nine, 24/7. He's rapping about love and how he misses the person. So I guess it's a little different in regards to the other tracks. And then the feature is Ink. I think he did a great job as well. Then you got track 10, About You featuring Tucker Wetmore, singing about heartbreak again. Then track 11, Long Nights, featuring Thomas Rhett, where he's reflecting on his success. So overall for me, I'm gonna give this a 7 out of 10. It is a good album, definitely different. I love how he blended everything, how he makes his country side with his rap side. I think that's fire. I think he did a great job with that. BigXthaPlug is definitely one of my favorite rappers out right now. I think he does a great job with his music. He definitely has a unique sound as well. In regards to this album, I get that he's heartbroken and he's like reflecting on it. But after a few tracks, like I said, it was just very repetitive. he kept saying the same thing over and over again. He wasn't really like saying nothing different. I get that he wants us to understand what he's talking about, but he really just made the same song like, a few more times on this album. He did stick to the theme of it, but there were some instances where he kind of just like drifted away from it, where he just randomly talks about, himself and his success. And I get it, like you could do that, obviously, it's your music and it was fire, but it just wasn't really like cohesive like that. But shout out to Big X the Plug, like I said earlier, I don't like country music, but he really did, make me sit there and listen to this for 26 minutes. He did a really good job about that. So now let's get to the second album, Mariah the Scientist. She dropped her new album called Heart Sold Separately. 10 songs, 35 minutes. The only feature is Kali Uchis. So when this album came out, I had to listen to it like maybe like 2 to 3 times, like back to back, to really come to terms with like how I feel about it. And I really did enjoy this album. I thought it was fire. I still think To Be Eaten Alive is amazing. And I think that's probably my favorite Mariah the Scientist album. But on this album, I do like how she played with like, modern R&B and then switched it up to like a 90s R&B kind of sound. I think that's fire. Some examples are from track one, Sacrifice. She starts off with a 90s R&B vibe. She's singing about her opening up to her lover and how vulnerable she is. And then you got track three, Internal Flame, one of my favorite songs on this album. She brings back the 90s vibe. She's reminiscent of a love that she lost and she's reflecting on it. Then you got track five, Burning Blue, another favorite track of mine, the single that she released. And to be honest, this is probably one of my favorite songs that dropped this year. I think she really delivered on this track. I think it's amazing. Then you got track nine, Like You Never. She switched it up to a trap and B sound. She's singing about her being in love. She's been through some stuff, but she still found love again. So I think that's fire. Then there's also track two, which is like I guess like a double track, you could say, where she's speaking about how like the world needs love. Track two is called United Nations plus 1000 Ways to Die. She's singing about, the status of the world, how everybody needs love and to just be peaceful. Then she transitions to the second half of the song. Then the second half is just her singing about somebody she loves. So I do like that, like, connection there. The only feature on this album is Kali Uchis, like I said, she's on track four, Is It a Crime? This kind of goes to like a modern R&B kind of sound. I like Kali Uchis. I'm a fan of hers, but I didn't really necessarily like her that much on this track. I feel like she didn't do as good as I know she could. Like, I think she could have done so much better. She didn't really bring anything that stood out, to be honest, other than her just being a feature on the track. But sonically, they both do sound great together regardless. Their voices blend really good. I think they both have like very similar styles. Throughout this album, she does a really good job of sticking to what she wants this album to be about. Basically about her showcasing her vulnerability and, singing about love and what she thinks about it. Some standout tracks in regards to the theme to me are track number six, another double track, All I Want, In Pursuit. It's one of my favorite songs. I really enjoyed the simplicity of the beat for the first half of the track. She's singing about wanting somebody, showing that emotion. But then when it switches to like the second part of the track, it's kind of like, all right, like if you want this from me, you got to show me this too. So it's like she's basically saying the relationship has to be 50-50, And I think that's, as it should be. I feel like our relationships should be 50-50. Track seven is called More, which is another favorite track of mine. I love the build up on this track. I liked her vocals on it. I love the background vocals on it. She gave off a little bit more energy here. It's just about her knowing that there's more in store for her than what she's been through and experienced. Track eight is another favorite track of mine as well. Rainy Days. She's singing about the downs of love. Her songwriting on this track is just fire. Like her lyrics throughout this entire album just hit, bro. Like they really do hit. Then you got the last track, number 10, No More Entertainers, singing about a relationship she had with somebody that she didn't mean to really like fall so hard for this person, but they will only be somebody that's just gonna entertain her and nothing more. But overall for me, I think this album is a 9 out of 10. I think she did a great job on this album. Her vocals, they're always amazing. The production is top tier. This album also shows just how strong her songwriting ability is because her lyrics throughout the entire album just hit. And I'm actually really happy that there wasn't too many features on here. Aside from Kali Uchis, I think adding more features on here probably would have taken away from some of the tracks. But this album is really unique and it really is honestly one of the best R&B releases of the year. I don't think Mariah the Scientist ever really disappoints. So shout out to her for delivering a really good album. There's been so much great music, and it's just gonna make it really hard for me to come out with my list towards the end of the year. Then last but not least, we got KIARI from Offset. I'm not sure if I'm saying that right, but it is what it is. I feel like this album was highly anticipated. I mean, it was anticipated to me, but I feel like it was. But then again, you know, albums nowadays just really just come and go after like a week or two. This album has 18 songs, 53 minutes long. Features Youngboy, YFN Lucci, Gunna, Jid, Key Glock, Tizo Touchdown, John Legend, and Ty Dolla Sign. So on this album, we definitely do get a lot of different sides of Offset. You know, he tries to be vulnerable. He tries to open up about situations that he's been going through. But after a while, you know, he does get kind of repetitive when he flexes his bread and his lifestyle. And I think it's kind of funny too, because like you out here flexing your bread and your lifestyle, but yeah, you're asking for support from Cardi B, you know, the court and everything. He also has a habit of trying to open up on this album, but then says like an irrelevant bar about it afterwards, where he's just like flexing. He does open up about, you know, Takeoff's passing and Cardi B's, you know, the divorce he's going through with her, and just about how he's really doing. You know, examples of him being or trying to be vulnerable on the first track, Enemies. You know, I did like how this album started with this track. He was rapping over like a soft, you know, emotional kind of beat. Like this was an example of him like trying to open up, but then like saying something completely irrelevant afterwards. So like for example, you know, he says, "Lord protect me from my friends. I can't handle my enemies." Then afterwards he says, 2,500 for the fragrance. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like, all right, bro, you just said this, but then you're gonna just say something that's completely different the next bar. I feel like it's kind of hard for him to stay on topic at certain times throughout this album. But the song is dope overall. It's just the direction for it was kind of a little weird. Then you got track number 4, Back in That Mode, featuring YFN Lucci. This was a favorite track of mine. This is basically his "I'm good, you know, get off my dick" song. Like he's rapping about him being okay regardless of everything, regardless of all the money he lost, regardless of him losing Cardi and the other issues that he has going on. You know, right now he's locked in, he's chasing the bag, trying to better himself. YFN Lucci did a great job on this track. You know, this is a song that I would probably play all the time, that I found myself going back to playing because it's relatable in terms of you just being locked in and just grinding, you know. Then you got track 10 called Folgers. This track was fire, but it is one of the tracks that sounded a little repetitive. You know, he did talk about his situation with Cardi a little bit, saying that he's good off her and that he's working on him, but that's about it. He isn't really saying anything that like I haven't heard him say previously on this album. Then you got track 11, All of My Hoes. I don't think this track made sense because he's trying to open up again about having girls. You know, that's cool, but don't be saying this and then like you're still mad and upset about Cardi. Like, you know, to remember like last year, him and Cardi were arguing and she pretty much exposed them on social media, showing text messages and how he was like trying to get her back after cheating. You know what I'm saying? Like, because we know you're not that guy, bro. Not like that. In terms of that, you're not that guy. Then you got track 14. This was another fave track of mine because it was reminiscent of the first track. You know, he raps over a soft beat. You know, he's trying to open up to everybody. Then you got track 16, Never Let Go, featuring John Legend. John Legend was the perfect feature on this track. His voice completes the song, to be honest, and Offset is rapping about how he misses Takeoff, you know, how it affected him. He even reflects on how like sad he is because he lost Cardi. I am happy that we got like a track like this from him because it's good to hear, you know, what his mind is going through, what he was going through, you know, ever since Takeoff passed, what he thinks about the situation. Also about like just how he's feeling overall and like how he's handling everything. I think that was a fire track. I really did enjoy this one. Then you got track 18 called Moved On. This is the last track. I kind of feel like this should have been placed somewhere else. I don't think this should have been at the end. I feel like this track is about Cardi since he wants to move on, but then he says that he'll take the blame and he'll take the shame. And then, you know, he's still saying that she played the wrong dude. So it's like, yo, like, you're the reason why y'all split up. You know what I mean? Like, you're the one that did this and that. She didn't really do nothing. And yet you're asking for support from her. So it's like, it just is weird, you know? Like, it doesn't make sense to me. I think it's weird. I think it's just random. I think it's clown behavior. But then afterwards, you do have some songs where he shows a lot of creativeness and his versatility. You know, Offset has been really fire with all of that, especially from his previous album, Set It Off. And you get a lot of this from track 1, which I mentioned earlier, track 16. Then you got also on track 6, which is Bodies, the song with Jid. Track 7 as well, Love You Down. I love the sample. I like the 90s vibes. I didn't expect him to actually make a love song, but this is a great example of him being, you know, versatile and a great example of his creativity. But this is a great example of him being versatile and showing, you know, a lot of creativity. Then you got track 8, Run It Up with Key Glock. The beat and sample is insane. His delivery on the track was fire. I love the jazz and gospel elements on this sample. Key Glock is another artist right now who honestly doesn't disappoint when it comes to his music. He's been releasing just straight heat, to be honest. I really did enjoy this collab, and it's definitely one of my favorite songs on the album. Then you got track 15, Proud of Myself, featuring Tizo Touchdown. I like Offset rapping over something that seems like a dance track. You know, it's very synth heavy as well. Tizo definitely added a flair to it that made the track stand out a little bit more. You know, another great example of Offset being very creative and showing versatility. Then you have tracks where he's just repeating himself a lot, and the tracks, and because of this, the track listing kind of seemed all over the place. Track 2 is Pills, featuring Young Boy. The beat is fire. The hook is catchy as well, since he's like just repeating pills like mad times, and you definitely catch yourself saying the same thing. YB actually sounded fire on this track. I'm not a YB fan. I think he sounds goofy majority of the time when he releases music. I'm sorry to say that, but I think he really did a good job on this track considering how I really feel about his music. Then you got track 9, Set It Off, which I thought was kind of weird because he did, you know, his previous album is called Set It Off. So I don't know why he didn't put this track on that album. Maybe he just wanted to be different. Maybe he just didn't really think about it. But this is another track where he's basically just flexing again, you know, nothing too crazy, pretty much repeating the same thing. Track 12, Calories, kind of reminded me of a Playboy Cardi or a Lil Uzi kind of beat. But this is basically the same song that he's made in the last couple songs on his album in terms of lyrics. At this point, when I heard this track, that's when I realized that this album doesn't really need to be 18 songs. It could have just been like 12 or like 11 or something. Then you got track 13, Checkmate, Smooth. This track was definitely better than like the last three tracks that came before it. You know, it was more enjoyable in regards of me listening to it, even though he's like repeating himself a lot. Then you got track 17, Favorite Girl with Ty Dolla $ign. I think Ty Dolla $ign carried this track. Ty Dolla $ign always kills it with features, but having this come right after the track about him singing about Takeoff was kind of weird. You know, like this is what I mean where the track listing kind of fell all over the place. I feel like this could have been somewhere else. Or maybe on like on a song where he was talking about how he feels about Cardi and how like he's sad about it. This would have made more sense. There is one track that I do want to talk about, and it's track 5, Different Species with Gunna. If this track isn't more proof that Offset and Gunna is like a rap duo that we need more music from, then I don't know what is. They definitely need to make a collab album or something because the tracks that they make together are always fire, they're always hit, they always do very good. Even Gunna on his recent album, he has a song called My Purist with Offset, and it's one of my favorite tracks on that album as well. So I definitely would love to see them like collab a little bit more, you know, do like a project, mixtape, EP, whatever it is. I just need something from them because they always deliver when they get together. But overall, I think this album is an 8 out of 10. I did find myself enjoying this album a lot from start to finish, regardless of how repetitive it is, regardless if the track listing is all over the place. But it isn't like the best album of the year. It isn't like the greatest album that came out this year. Like, you know what I mean? But it is one of his best works. Definitely better than Set It Off that came out 2 years ago. You know, Offset does show some growth from his last album. I do like seeing this more vulnerable side of him. I do like him reflecting on what's been going on and like everything that's, you know, been happening to him, everything that people's been talking about. You know, I like how he plays with a lot of different sounds on this album. You know, I feel like it shows his creativity a lot, his versatility a lot. This album definitely is something that like I've been playing a little bit more too, to be honest, because, you know, it does have replay value. But let's see like how it does throughout the rest of the year with everything else dropping. I'm also curious to know if like Cardi's gonna just outshine this completely. I feel like she is, but I just want to see what's gonna happen with that. But with that being said, this episode is coming to a close. Like always, thank you guys for listening. I really appreciate you guys listening to me just rambling on. Definitely go check out all the albums that I mentioned. Go check out any other albums that came out that have been great this year as well. But like I said earlier, like this video, comment, subscribe to my channel, follow me on TikTok, follow me on Instagram, you know, like and comment there as well. Let me know what you guys think. Let me know what you guys been listening to. I hope you guys all have a great week. Hope you guys all have a great weekend ahead. Definitely enjoy this nice Labor Day break. I'll catch you guys next time. Peace.